Hello again, everyone. It's Dan McDonald with Imperial Clinical Research Services, back with our executive interview series. This time I'm very excited to have a longtime industry friend and colleague, Norm Goldfarb, with me. Norm, welcome.
Thank you, Dan. This is a real pleasure.
Appreciate it. So if you've been involved in the clinical research industry, you've been at conferences and around, I'd be surprised if you don't know Norm's face, you haven't seen him. He's started a research site. He's had a conference series that was very popular, all sorts of great things. I know you're very busy these days. You've got the site council you're working on and also the Christie initiative. Why don't you bring us up to speed with what you're working on?
Happy to. So the site council is an industry collaboration. Started about a year ago. We have over 1,700 sites now, and these sites are all tired of talking about the problems that sites have with sponsors and CROs. We want to eradicate these problems. And the way we're going to eradicate them is what we think is, in theory, a simple three-step process. Number one, when a site member talks to a sponsor CRO, says, we're with the site council, we appreciate your support, take a look at the website. That's all we ask. By the way, no money changes hands, there's no paperwork, super lightweight.
So no risk for them.
None I'm aware of at all.
Right, right.
The second step is where the sponsor looks, or the CRO looks at the what we call the site council dream, which is a list of 24 problems that sites have with sponsors and CROs, and figures out which ones they've already addressed, which ones would require just simple policy changes, and the others just work on in good faith over time. No pressure, just gentle encouragement. The magic happens, Dan, when the sponsor or CRO figures out that if it wants to be a sponsor or CRO of choice, this is their checklist. And every sponsor wants to be a sponsor of choice, and every CRO wants to be a CRO of choice. And these problems, to be done, they're granular, they're actionable, and they're measurable. So they can actually keep track of whether they're doing a good job or not. And if a site has a choice between a sponsor that's treating them right and a sponsor that's giving them a hard time, I think you know which one they're going to work with.
That's right. That's right. Well, I love it because knowing you for as long as I have, all of your efforts have been, how do I create a stronger site sponsor relationship? How do I bring down barriers to working together? How do I make the process more efficient? So you're very much still working towards those goals, which is exciting.
The worst thing about clinical research is all the things that are broken.
Yeah.
In fact, I dare you to name a single process that is not badly broken.
Don't put me on the spot.
That's also the best thing about clinical research, because there's so many things we can fix.
Right, there's a lot of things to work on.
And you also asked me about Christie.
Yes, please, yeah. Tell us about
Christie is the Clinical Research Interoperability Standards Initiative, which is a big mouthful, but it boils down to Christie. And what we have is 35 tech vendors who are building a library of standard APIs. And the objective is for all the apps that sites and anybody else has to use to talk to each other. So you only have to enter data once.
Right.
2 use cases. First use case is get rid of the integration fire drills at the beginning of studies.
Yeah.
Number 2,
very common.
The average study coordinators, my understanding is they spend a full day a week on redundant data entry. In what world does that make any sense?
Right, yeah.
So we want to get rid of all that, enter the data once, and it just goes to where it needs to be.
I love it, I love it. So continuing to drive forward with efficiencies in research, which is something that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of things that are broken and you're working towards improving those. So let's talk about, it's early 2024, got a chance to look through the crystal ball, do some prognosticating. As you look forward into later this year, into the following few years, what do you see being sort of some of the key issues that are going to shape our industry?
Well, there's one in particular that I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, but it's not talked about much. And that's what's going to happen with the integration of independent sites into site networks.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue until probably they're all integrated eventually. But
so you still see consolidation continuing going forward, maybe accelerating?
I actually was just talking to an investor, and he sees it accelerating.
Interesting.
And he's got the money to make it happen. Okay. So the interesting thing about that is not the fact that there's going to be site networks, but how that affects clinical trials. So if you're Mr. Pfizer, for example, or Mr. Merck, or Mr. Glasgow, you're sending out, say 200 feasibility questionnaires to site.
Right.
And let's say you're hoping to you're lucky you get 100 sites out of it. You're not going to do that in 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you're going to do is you're going to have trusted relationships with a number of site networks, and you're going to pick the 10 best for that particular therapeutic area, and you're going to call your buddies on the phone. You have trusted relationships with these people, and you say, here's a new study we're doing. We already have master clinical trial agreement. We already have a master rate card. Take a look at the protocol. I'll email it to you right now, and let's get started on Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, you can have 10 of the 100 sites.
Right.
So we'll be working with 10 partners, and we'll launch the study on Monday.
Right.
Yeah,
So incredibly streamlined. Sponsors and site networks working as partners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so let's move on to something that you're excited about. So as you look forward, what's kind of get you most excited about what's happening in the industry and where things are going?
Well, I have a lot of background in technology,
Yes.
and there's a ton of new AI companies, and pretty much every established company, probably literally every established AI company, has some AI projects.
Is working on something, right?
On something.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've even scratched the surface. There's got to be at least 1,000 places where AI can contribute to clinical research. It's going to be a messy process finding out who does the best job on that and making it all work, but that's the way technology progresses. But the world's going to look very different in a few years.
You've heard it today from one of the industry's well-known experts. I love talking to Norm. That's probably one of the most insightful interviews we've done. You've really shared a lot of excellent information with us. Thanks for making time. We appreciate it. Everyone, thank you for watching. And until next time, we will see you down the road. Take care.
Thank you, Dan.